important date celebrating the 64 years of the Resolution 1514 that grants peoples around the world the right to self-determination and independence, the very same right that the Sahrawi people have been waiting to exercise for almost half a century. Indeed, talking about resources, natural resources in Western Sahara, and we have heard different opinions and details about the fact that it is illegal, it is unethical, it is supporting the occupation in Western Sahara. It is also very challenging to add value to this panel with all these panelists, great speakers here, but I will try to give you an idea on what is really going inside the occupied territories of Western Sahara when it comes to Western Sahara's natural resources. So natural resources has been for centuries, for all the time in history, since the Roman Empire, when the Caesar was sending his generals of leagues to conquer lands, they will give those generals access to these natural resources and give them full access to maintain their loyalty and maintain their military presence on those lands. Morocco, on the other side, claims to be a country with 12 centuries of history. Well, we don't disagree in that, but we agree definitely that they act as such. They act indeed as more than 12 centuries old regime. In Western Sahara, natural resources are a source of military funding, tool of allegiance, rewarding cooperators, whether they are internal or external or international players, implicating international actors in an attempt to internationalize the occupation in Western Sahara, gaining support, and most overall, to change demography in Western Sahara. Natural resources are different, varies from phosphate, fisheries, renewable energies, oil explorations, marketed with recent developed sector of tourism. So when it comes to phosphate, it is dominated by OCP, which is a state-owned company, but other mining activities are conducted by Managem, which is the Wire family-owned group that dominate all kind of mining activities in Western Sahara. We don't have any information on those activities except the information provided by Western Sahara Resource Watch on phosphate exports and few on the sand exports. Gold, salt, other mining activities are unknown to all of us. When it comes to greenwashing or so-called renewable energy, renewable energy is good, but before being green, it has to be legal. In Western Sahara, it is illegal, and for that, it cannot be green, it cannot be renewable at all. There are so far 15 projects in different cities in Western Sahara with an aim of production of 1,925 to 2,000 megawatt hour by 2030. Majority of those projects are running, and I did a quick calculation on what is expected to gain or what is Morocco gaining from those projects, considering the investment will be fixed investment and also taking into consideration the wind speed or the average wind speed in Western Sahara for the wind energy, and also the average temperature, sun clearance in Western Sahara during the whole year. And we took also a worst case scenario where you would have a production of 50% only, while in Western Sahara the wind speed is really 90%, 95% of during the whole year. And briefly, capacity of 1925 megawatt hour with a production cost internationally $25 per megawatt hour, and a sales price of $113 per megawatt hour, which makes it basically per megawatt hour a revenue of $217,000 on a year basis, can go up to millions. and with a return on investment of, in a best case scenario, of 1 year, and a worst case scenario in a 3-year time. So those projects are owned, and will come later to the owners of those projects. But the most important in implicating the neighboring countries by national grid, mentioned by our colleague Eric here, to connect the grid with the neighboring countries and even the UK, and sell the production from Western Sahara to those countries, but also to sell it to their own people and to the Sahrawis through the local electricity grid. So on those sectors, we have to mention that no Sahrawis have access to proper jobs except some drivers, security guards, and some low-scale jobs for Sahrawis, claiming that we don't have the capacity, we don't have trained people, experts in that, while preventing the Sahrawis also from having a single university in Western Sahara since the invasion in 1975, and therefore, of course, we don't have educated people or trained people to be active in this sector. On the agriculture side, which we see indeed an overexploitation of the groundwater reserves in Western Sahara, and there is an aim to extend from the current 1.5 thousand hectares to 13,000, and that explained the desalination plan that's been put in place, and also the role it will play in demographic engineering in Western Sahara. And we'll try to go fast, but those projects are bringing thousands of seasonal workers, but those seasonal workers will transfer to permanent inhabitant or to live in the occupied territories of Western Sahara. And then we have the Dakhla port, which is a huge infrastructure that will play a major role in speeding up the plunder of natural resources of Western Sahara, but also to involve major player. Here you will see Dakhla Atlantic Port Consortium, something they have formed with Moroccan companies and major companies who are participating in the construction of that port. And unfortunately, we don't see any link to the Sahrawis' involvement anywhere. And we see only groups owned by the royal family or owned by their allies in Western Sahara. So that, having said that, also for the oil industry, also we have seen replacement of international companies who have declined after pressure or without pressure to participate or conduct business in occupied Western Sahara. We see that they are replacing them with Israeli companies, more companies who are ready to conduct dirty work with public or open face to the public without having any concerns. And we have few names here in that. And we see also that the Moroccan Hydrocarbon, ONIM, the Office of Hydrocarbons, held in very minimum shares on those projects, which means that it's a term or a way of paying back or buying positions under, we have seen the Abraham Accord, but we see also with other countries, maybe France very soon, we'll see the same structure, that their companies will enter, have more shares, more participation in the occupied Western Sahara. Then we will come to the fisheries, and fisheries is very key sector for demographic transfer and for settlement plans. The fisheries bring, basically, when we come to, there are 4 sectors: licensing for fishery licenses, fish exports, fish meals, and fish oil. When it comes to the fish licenses, we have seen a couple of lists of fish licensed boats, and there is less than 5% of those licenses held by Sahrawis. And we see thousands of fishing boats coming from Agadir, even up to Sawira. They fish in the territory, on the water of Western Sahara, and offload in their cities. So to give you also more idea of the control of those businesses, that we see that those are the major Moroccan companies in the fish sector, and you will see only the king entourage or the royal family or the monarchy entourage who are controlling all the fishes, all the fishing industry, including the exports to the EU. We can share those details more on later when required. But for now, the fishing villages, and we have a lot of fishing villages that are built, constructed by the Moroccan occupation forces in occupied Western Sahara. We have listed 11 to 12 fishing villages with thousands of Moroccan settlers fishing on those territories. Around 75,000 estimated fishermen, Moroccan fishermen, are moving to the occupied territories of Western Sahara. In the same time, Moroccan occupation forces are destroying, removing Sahrawi properties from the coastline along Western Sahara to make space for those settlers. And the fishing villages of Moroccan settlers never been touched. Only Sahrawi properties are just click next. Yeah. So we have listed those numbers from varies from 300 down to 10 houses demolished, burned to the ground by the Moroccan occupation forces in different areas. Those numbers are only people who could speak to us. The majority of victims cannot and are afraid from reprisal actions to be taken against them. I will try to be fast, Ahmed, if you don't mind. These are the figures of the inhabitant or the counting that Morocco conducted in 24, where we see how we can never trust the numbers provided by the Moroccans. How we took those numbers from the reports provided by Morocco, where they mentioned Hassaniya speakers, and we took those numbers to reflect the numbers of Sahrawis with Hassaniya speakers, and we see in 2014 there was 13.999% Sahrawis in Layun or Sagi al-Hamra. In 2024 they become 14%, so 0.001% change in 10-year time, which means those numbers are fake, are manipulated, cannot be trusted. And that will explain a lot that Morocco has to hide a lot of things when it comes to demographic transfer, demographic change, demographic engineering in occupied Western Sahara. And in the same time, we have been, I recall, sorry Tuna, but I have to say that, I recall we have been talking to the European Commission, trying to, in the discourse of consent and consultation, the people and the population, where they tried to convince us to participate in a nonsense consultation that we refused to take part in. But when we check the EU database, for instance, we see, for instance, 2022, there is a value of exports from Western Sahara of 77,000 euros. In their annual report, in the same year, we see millions. So how we can rely really, which data are credible? We cannot really see the credible data of values coming from Western Sahara, and in the same time to trust the European Union or the European Commission in that. As a marketing tool, they are using recently the tourism. We see 44 hotels in Dakhla, which is increased the last year dramatically, 1-star hotel. But the Sahrawi participation in that, I know the benefit discussion is irrelevant legally, but I just want to explain to you how it looks like. 44 hotels, and Sahrawis comes only under the other accommodations. They own the private houses that provide Airbnb, for instance. There is no Sahrawi that owns even a 3-star hotel in occupied Western Sahara. Maybe in Layun there is one. So while Europeans or tourists are enjoying kite surfing and watching flamingos in the occupied Western Sahara, the Moroccan occupation forces are demolishing houses, kicking out Sahrawis from their houses in a major systematic displacement policy. So who control that? And I call that no corner unclaimed. Al-Mada group is the royal family group. And I know it's messy picture here, but this is really the cleanest I could get on a first layer. There is a second and a third and a fourth layer that will make it really huge. But all those sectors, infrastructure, agriculture, banking, insurances, tourism, logistics, anything, any business you can think about is controlled by that group or its allies. So this is, and I look to Manuel here, those are the parties that the EU Commission want to benefit. And that closed the benefit part. So in general, 3 points here, and exclusion as a policy, educational and cultural exclusion, jobs discrimination that are imposed on Sahrawi people, political and social exclusion as a result of the exploitation of natural resources illegally. And then we have coercive loyalty incentive for a subjugation purpose that is imposed on the Sahrawis, and we have the assimilation or domination by identity repression, language change, and so on. So those all combined bring us to migration, and we have not that this year only 6,000 youth, Sahrawi youth, have left the territory on immigration because of those policies. Forced allegiance imposed on Sahrawis who refuse the occupation, but still they have to accept it, afraid from reprisal actions. Selective justice, those who are in favor or supportive to occupation, they will get a different justice system than those opposing it. Skill devaluation, inequality, social tension, and dependency. Those are policies imposed on the Sahrawis and occupied territories. And I'm sorry for taking time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.